Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fang Qingyan found relevant information about the Medusa clan in the study. The orcs in Azeroth exist in the form of tribes. There are thousands of orc tribes, and the leader of the tribe is called the chief. The 7 most powerful tribes in Azeroth are the real rulers of the kingdom, similar to the 7 royal families of Nikala. The Medusa clan is one of the 7 royal clans of Azeroth. Its members are all strange creatures that are half human and half snake. They are physically strong and fight viciously. The most frightening thing is the poison of Medusa. Once poisoned, you can basically give up treatment and prepare for the funeral in advance. Fang Qingyan closed the book expressionlessly. He has given up the idea of treating Castain any longer. He is not a saint, and Castain is not a person who is very important to him. Now that he has done what he should do, it is time to stop decisively. If he continues, even if Castain can be cured in the end, Fang Qingyan will pay a huge price, that is far beyond the help a housekeeper should give to the head of the family. I'll forget about saving you. At most, I'll help you fulfill your last wish. By then, you and I will become one, and it's time for me to leave this place. Fang Qingyan murmured. He has decided that if Elizabeth continues to stay at home, he will directly sneak into the Cape clan and kidnap her. Having mastered the spatial ability, he didn't worry at all that anyone could stop him. It's just that he kind of doesn't want to do that. He is a noble marquis vampire, and it is really beneath his status to carry out this robbery like a gentleman, so, it's better for Castain to hold on for a few more days. Cape clan, Marquis Castle, in a cozy boudoir. Elizabeth was being held down in front of a huge floor-to-ceiling mirror by several maids, who were forced to put on makeup and change clothes. It can be seen that she is very reluctant. Her little nose is twitching, her long silver ponytails are swinging wildly. She is so beautiful that even rolling her eyes is so cute. Damn it, I really don't want to go. What I hate most is this kind of social dance organized by nobles. I want to stay at home. I don't want to go out. I don't want it. Elizabeth is still making her final struggle, but despite her natural beauty, her fighting ability is pitifully low. The 2 maids on the left and right easily subdued her and pinned her down in front of the dressing table. The maids of the Cape clan had many strong men above the Viscount level. There was even a Count maid. Their job is not only to take care of Her Royal Highness the Princess's daily life, but more importantly, to protect Elizabeth's personal safety. Princess, don't move. Be good. You'll be fine soon. The maid coaxed and deceived. You haven't been out for a year. The Marquis ordered us to take you out today. Another maid said. I don't. That Elizabeth's small mouth tightened, and her beautiful big eyes filled with tears. I just want to stay at home. There are so many of my favorite love novels in the castle. I can enjoy the most delicious spiritual food in the world at home. Why go out? That everyone was immediately speechless. Other people's princesses hate staying at home and dress up every day. They wish that all the men in the world would appreciate their beauty, surrender to their charm, and enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by stars. Those who play too crazy may even be punished by being grounded. Our princess of the Cape family is quite good. She looks like a super otaku. Ever since I first came into contact with romance novels at the age of 6, I have been immersed in the world of novels every day and couldn't extricate myself. I imagined that I was the heroine in the book and experienced episodes of lingering, unforgettable love. In fact, this otaku has never even been in love. The place where the Cape clan has the largest collection of books is not the luxurious study of Marquis Morpheus, but the palace of Her Royal Highness the Princess, which has a collection of love novels, essays, and poems from hundreds of countries around the world. There are millions of copies, which can be called crazy. Therefore, Elizabeth is not only a super otaku and a senior researcher on love, but also an ultimate literary youth. This is obviously inconsistent with the character of a princess. A donkey worth 3 copper coins cannot pull out of the pen, so in a rage, Duke Morpheus confiscated all of Elizabeth's romance novels, and ordered the maids to drag the otaku out of the house and throw her into the aristocratic circle. Your Highness, if you really yearn for love, you should meet more outstanding young talents. You can't get Prince Charming by burying yourself in novels. that the Count's maid said to her with a serious expression. Elizabeth's beautiful blue amber eyes stared, and she wanted to say something philosophical to refute the ignorant maid, but after thinking about it, she found that the other party was impeccable, so she could only blush and sneer. There is beauty in the book. As long as I read all the love novels in the world, my Prince Charming will come to me. Maid, haha, underscore. Everyone couldn't help but force Elizabeth to put on makeup and put on a big red skirt with golden lace. The smooth mirror reflected Elizabeth's appearance, her pure white long hair slanted down her fair back. Under her long eyelashes was a pair of clear aqua eyes. Her delicate and pretty face had a hint of anger, and her small crystal ears were hanging down. Dazzling emerald earrings, the graceful figure is shrouded in a gorgeous red dress. Amazing beauty, stunning beauty. The huge floor-to-ceiling mirror swayed slightly, as if even it was attracted by the beauty of this peerless beauty. TSK, this is what our Capet princess looks like. The maid's eyes lit up. Without further ado, they carried Elizabeth out of the door, got on a luxurious carriage, and drove out of the castle. The cry of an eagle cut through the sky. A night falcon with a purple body and 3 hairs on its head flapped its wings, penetrated the thick clouds, and disappeared over the castle. P.S. Let me explain, my cousin got married, and I was suddenly dragged to be the best man without any knowledge or preparation. This chapter was written on my mobile phone at the wedding. Sorry, readers, I will make up for it later. I heard that being a best man will get you beaten. I don't know if it's true. I hope I can spend this night safely. Chapter 28. Castle Castain, housekeeper's room. Inside a high-end coffin worth 8,000 gold coins, Fang Qingyan's eyebrows twisted into a ball, and fine beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. His skin was sometimes deep blue and sometimes red gold. The blood of the dual attributes of yin and yang roared in his body. After 9 months of intensive practice, Fang Qingyan's blood had been filled to the extreme. Just like a cup full of water that could no longer accommodate a stone, he knew that it was time for him to break through the realm. Walala, that he could even clearly hear the sound of his energetic blood flow in his ears, and every beat of his heart was as shocking as a giant hammer hitting a war drum. Fang Qingyan stimulated his blood to a nearly violent state. If it weren't for the indestructible body of the Marquis, his body might have been torn into pieces by the raging blood power. Although he had entered the most critical moment of breaking through the realm, he remained absolutely calm in his heart, and everything was under control. Finally, when the blood and qi were stimulated to a certain critical point, Fang Qingyan's body suddenly trembled. Rumble. Instantly, the surging blood and qi suddenly broke away from the original track, like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, carrying violent energy, and rushed to Fang Qingyan's back fiercely. To be precise, it was the shoulder blades on both sides of his back. After the blood and qi rushed here, it encountered shackles. It was as if the Ren and Du meridians in martial arts novels were not connected, blocking the flow of blood and qi. These two places are the key to the advancement of zero-wing Marquis to dual wings. For millions of years, countless marquises have failed before this level. How can it be so easy to break the shackles of fate? Fang Qingyan was also stuck here, unable to make any progress. Seeing that this advancement was about to end in failure, suddenly, a change occurred. The deep blue blood power of the extreme yin attribute suddenly turned into the red gold extreme yang power. The inside of the coffin was like a pressure cooker. The air pressure and temperature instantly exploded. Fang Qingyan's whole body was burning with golden light. That was the breath of the sun's fire. Boom! With a sudden impact, the shackles shook violently. Fang Qingyan was calm and composed, and once again transformed from the extreme yang to the extreme yin form, and then hit hard. The shackles loosened a little. Next, he continued to transform his form, using the extreme yang power and the extreme yin power to cross-strike. Yin and yang mixed doubles. Ice and fire. Even the most stubborn shackles could not withstand such torment. Finally, with a click sound in his mind, Fang Qingyan broke through the shackles with an extremely strong attitude. Suddenly, the clouds and mist were cleared and the blue sky was seen. He broke through to the middle stage of the Marquis very smoothly. The raging blood in the body gradually became dormant, and the mental power doubled. The scope of application of spatial superpowers has increased a lot. A satisfied look appeared in Fang Qingyan's eyes, and he smiled. Within a range of 200 meters, it's all my world. But soon, he remembered something. his expression showed doubt, and he murmured, "By the way, where are my holy wings?" After the breakthrough, he should have grown 2 wings, hissed. As soon as the thought came up, Fang Qingyan's eyes widened and he took a breath of cold air. A strange feeling attacked his mind from the shoulder blade position behind him, very itchy and very painful. The itching and pain were unbearable. Fang Qingyan wanted to find a pillar, lean on it, and then rub it up and down. Shoot! A sound sounded, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. The skin and flesh on the upper left side of the back suddenly broke open a palm-sized hole, and then a blood-red wing swished out and flapped gently. This wing is a full meter long, but it has no feathers. The hideous bones are like the veins on a leaf, crisscrossing. The wing is surrounded by blood-red light, strange and beautiful. Swish! There was another light sound. Fang Qingyan's body shook, and a wing popped out from the shoulder blade on the right side of his back. The shape is the same as the left wing, but the color is dazzling red gold, with bursting yang yen surging on it, which is also amazingly beautiful. Rumble, with the appearance of the 2 holy wings of one red and one gold, the blood and qi in Fang Qingyan's body suddenly surged several times. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Physical strength, power, speed, mental strength, all aspects have been greatly enhanced. This is a bit too strong, right? Fang Qingyan widened his eyes, feeling the destructive power in his body, somewhat unbelievable. That he put away the holy wings, and the wings retracted again. The cut on his back healed instantly without the slightest trace. So that's how it is. After taking back the holy wings, the countless power that just surged disappeared again. Fang Qingyan experienced it and finally understood the meaning of the Blood Clan's holy wings. In simple terms, the holy wings are a switch. After releasing the holy wings, the vampire will enter a new form, or mode. The Blood Clan that transforms into the holy wing form is much stronger than the normal state. This kind of thing is too magical and not scientific at all. But Fang Qingyan thought of a certain anime he had watched in his previous life, and he was relieved. The scions can become dozens of times stronger by dyeing their hair color, so why can't we vampires? Fluttering, there was a sound beside my ear. Petsia flew in from the window. Chirp! Chirp! It gestured with its 2 wings and described it in crazy sign language. Fortunately, Fang Qingyan had been with it for so long that his eagle language level was not low, at least level 10. He understood Petsia's words. Has Elizabeth left the Marquis's castle? That's great. Fang Qingyan couldn't help but smile. If she doesn't go out, I'm ready to kidnap her. He pushed the door open and walked out. P.S. Please support. Chapter 29. The Ravno clan, a magnificent aristocratic castle, like a luxurious palace made of gold. This is the castle of Count Castain Ravno, one of the heirs of the Ravno clan. Castain Castle was surprisingly lively tonight, with luxurious carriages coming from all directions. After the doors were opened, the nobles walked out in high spirits with the help of the waiters. All the men were dressed in proper formal attire. The ladies of the nobility were dressed in gorgeous dance dresses, competing with each other for beauty. Some were sexy, some were elegant, some were hot, and some were literary. Many gentlemen stared at them and secretly drooled. There was no doubt that Jasonberg would hold a high-end dance party, and the music would last until dawn. Suddenly, the crowd was in an uproar, as if the arrival of some person had caused a sensation. Oh my God! It's Elizabeth! The brightest star in the city of Lahmia. Oh Lilith, the ancestor, look who I saw. After a year, I actually saw the little princess of the Capet clan again. Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth is so beautiful. If I could marry her, I would be willing to live 800 years less. Shut up, you, a little baron, don't have such a long life. Such exclamations came one after another, and almost no one could resist Elizabeth's beauty and charm. Although she was a stay-at-home girl who didn't like to go out, in the aristocratic circle, Elizabeth's suitors and admirers could line up from Jasonberg to Lahmia city. Admittedly, in these pursuits, the fundamental purpose of almost everyone was to marry into the Capet clan and expand the family's power, but they were also impressed by Elizabeth's beauty and fell under her charm. There is no contradiction between the two. Elizabeth, with the support of the maids, slowly got off the carriage in the eyes of the crowd. However, the scene that happened next made everyone dumbfounded. Woo-woo, let me go, I don't want to go in, I want to go home, woo-woo, I don't want to attend this kind of ball. The beautiful princess suddenly hugged the earl's maid's thigh, crying. I want to go home and read novels. I order you to let me go. Throwing a tantrum, without any image, the scene was suddenly silent, and the crowd was petrified for 3 full seconds. However, the next moment, even more enthusiastic cheers rang out. Her Royal Highness is so cute. I want to take her home. I just like her personality, ha ha ha. Obsessed with books and resistant to socializing, Elizabeth is simply a breath of fresh air among the nobles. Unlike those coquettish and slutty girls, her Royal Highness has her own personality. The Earl's maid had no expression on her face. Like an eagle grabbing a chick, she picked up her Royal Highness and walked into the castle in a dragon-like and tiger-like manner, regardless of how she cried. Alas! Elizabeth sighed faintly. Entering the castle meant that she had no chance. She simply accepted her fate and stopped struggling. Ahem, ha 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 ha. On the wheelchair, Count Castain coughed violently and laughed. He was very excited, and Fang Qingyan next to him could feel his happiness. There is no doubt that the two of them had just been in the corner of the crowd and watched Elizabeth's wonderful performance. After getting the Marquis's blood essence, Castain's vision has been restored. Elizabeth, her personality is exactly the same as her mother. Camilla is also so lively and cute, quirky. She also doesn't care about any eyes of outsiders, and pursues what she likes wholeheartedly, ignoring the evaluation of the world. Castain talked to himself, and his old eyes were filled with mist and his eyes were wet. He had no regrets about seeing his biological daughter. Even if he died now, the old Earl would accept it with a smile. Is your Excellency satisfied with this? Fang Qingyan shook his head and chuckled. You should cherish every second of your life and every opportunity to contact your daughter. Castain was stunned for a moment. You mean? Let's go in and take a look. Fang Qingyan raised his eyebrows and pushed the wheelchair forward. I finally came here, and I encountered an upper-class aristocratic ball. How can I miss it? No, I didn't receive an invitation. His Highness Jason can't let us in. We can't get in. The old Earl hesitated and sighed. If I wasn't injured, maybe I would give me a face, but with my current appearance, I will only be looked down upon. In a world where strength is respected, losing strength is equal to losing everything, including dignity. Fang Qingyan heard from the old Earl's tone that he still wanted to go, but he just felt that there was no hope. Be more confident. You have fought on the battlefield for many years and made countless military achievements. You are a respectable Earl. Fang Qingyan patted his shoulder and said calmly, we can get in. Okay, then give it a try. Castain gritted his teeth, and his daughter's voice and appearance appeared in his mind, and he finally mustered up the courage. Fang Qingyan pushed the wheelchair and gradually approached the entrance of the castle. As expected, when he arrived at the door, he was stopped by 2 guards. Stop, please show your invitation to the ball. The guard said coldly, those who enter without an invitation will be punished for offending the royal family. Castain was about to speak, but Fang Qingyan took the lead. This is the famous Count Castain, a meritorious official of the Kingdom of Nicara. Do you want to stop him too? Fang Qingyan's voice was flat, and while speaking, a purple light flashed in his narrow eyes. The 2 guards looked blank for a split second, and then one of them bowed respectfully. It turned out to be Lord Count Castain. You have changed so much that we didn't notice it for a while. Please forgive us. The other person also said politely, please come in, Lord Count. Fang Qingyan's mouth curled slightly, and he pushed the confused Castain into the castle. Is this okay? The old Earl's eyes widened. When did the lackeys of the royal family become so respectful and polite to ordinary nobles like them? I said it's okay. Let's go and ask the steward of the Ravno clan for 2 sets of banquet dresses. Still need dresses? Count Castain looked shocked. Is this really okay? This is a royal noble. Fang Qingyan curled his lips. with his spiritual power level of double-winged Marquis, plus the 2 superpowers of mind reading and mind control, what's wrong with it? Let alone asking for 2 sets of dresses, even if he asked for his head, he would obediently cut it off and give it to Fang Qingyan. All the vampires below the Marquis could not resist Fang Qingyan's mental power. I didn't expect that I was so famous. Even the castle steward at the Earl level was so polite to me. Why didn't I realize that I was so respected before? After successfully asking for 2 sets of high-end dresses again, Count Castain thought silently in his heart. Little did he know that it was all Fang Qingyan's credit. Having strength can indeed do whatever you want, it's just a matter of wanting or not. P.S. Ask for flowers, evaluation tickets, and monthly tickets to support. Xiaopuji begs, Chapter 30. In the magnificent ballroom, in the thousands of candlelights, many people walked back and forth, and the dance floor was even more chaotic. Both men and women were enjoying this aristocratic banquet: red wine, blood food, handsome men, beautiful women, music, dance, desire. These are the elements that make up this cocktail party, and they are also what make these vampires crazy. Perhaps this is the upper class among the Blood clan. Fang Qingyan is not interested in such a noisy place at all, and he can't understand their joy. He is a person who likes quietness and solitude. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For people with rich inner world, even being alone is a rare enjoyment. She's there. Fang Qingyan was afraid that Castain couldn't see it, so he pointed in a direction. The old count looked over and saw Elizabeth sitting in the VIP seat, her pretty face frosty. For maids were guarding her. Let's just watch from a distance here. I will die without regrets. Count Castain smiled happily. His and Camilla's daughter has grown up so much, full of the youthful vitality of a girl, which makes him very relieved. Although his daughter was raised by others, Fang Qingyan curled his lips and didn't say anything after hearing this. He felt that Castain had no dreams. He was too embarrassed to go up and talk to his daughter right in front of him, but this was Castain's choice. He didn't want to disturb his daughter's current life, and there was no need for him to meddle in other people's business. Fang Qingyan only needed to stand like this, waiting for the ball to end, and then leave. If nothing unexpected happens, Castain's body can still last for 10 days and a half months. After the old earl died, Fang Qingyan would find a place to bury him. He would also leave and find a new place to live. There were many noble ladies attending the ball, and even several princesses from other families, but there was no doubt that Elizabeth was the most dazzling star, and her brilliance completely overshadowed the beauty of other women, although everyone consciously concealed their intentions and pretended to be well-behaved. In fact, most gentlemen were secretly looking at Elizabeth with the corner of their eyes. Some of them might be violent, cruel, bloodthirsty, and vicious. But in such an occasion, everyone looked like an impeccable gentleman, humble, polite, elegant, gentle, sunny, and confident. The reason why Elizabeth rejected the noble ball was that she felt that most people here were hypocritical, artificial, and not honest enough. Many male nobles who were very confident in their appearance tried to approach her, put on a charming smile and self-proclaimed elegant gestures, and invite the princess to dance, but they all returned in vain. So far, no one has succeeded. Elizabeth, you are more dazzling than the moon in the sky tonight. The handsome Earl Jason walked over, with a gentleman's smile, and politely made an invitation gesture. Can I invite you to dance? Elizabeth blinked and shook her head decisively. I can't dance. Earl Jason's smile froze slightly. Isn't ballroom dancing the most basic course for nobles? This is a very direct rejection. He was unwilling and put on a gentleman's smile again. I can teach you to dance, it's easy to learn. Elizabeth's expression suddenly became serious. I hate learning the most, you are making it difficult for me. This is not the way to treat guests. Humph, this place, it's better not to stay. She stood up and ran away in high heels. Earl Jason's mouth twitched. He had always heard that Elizabeth was difficult to deal with, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult. She didn't give him any face at all. His status was no lower than Elizabeth's, but he was rejected repeatedly. Humph. Pretending to be noble, a bitch. Earl Jason was ashamed and angry, and cursed in his heart. Typical case of saying grapes are sour when you can't get them. Your Highness, you can't go back before the ball is over. The maid reminded. Elizabeth sighed helplessly. I know. I won't leave, I'll just get up and turn around. Don't you think this kind of ball is boring? It's a waste of time and life, and there is no point at all. If I read a romance novel, I can get a touching story, but here, all I can get is flattery and a smile full of hypocrisy and self-righteousness. The maids sighed in their hearts. They were used to it, seeing that the princess had turned around and left. They hurried to catch up. In fact, for this kind of ball, having fun is only the secondary purpose, and socializing is the real important thing. A glass of wine may win the friendship of a nobleman. A dance may win the favor of a beautiful woman. A flattery may win the appreciation and promotion of an adult. It's just that Elizabeth doesn't need these things. She's coming towards us. Castain widened his eyes and spoke in a panic. Fang Qingyan was speechless. She didn't know you, why are you so nervous? As expected, Elizabeth was just passing by. She walked past the two of them without looking at them, leaving only a refreshing fragrance. However, the next moment, her body suddenly stopped, took a few steps back, and stopped in front of Fang Qingyan and Castain. Hey, why is your physical condition so bad? Elizabeth looked at Castain curiously. Castain was so excited that he couldn't speak. Fortunately, Fang Qingyan put his hand on his shoulder and told him not to be nervous. Good evening. Good evening, Elizabeth. The old earl's voice trembled. For so many years, he had a verbal exchange with his daughter for the first time. You haven't told me yet, why are you in such a bad health? The biggest advantage of our blood race is that we have a long lifespan and can stay young forever. Elizabeth continued the question. Just now, all the people who attended the banquet were young and talented people with high spirits. How could Castain be in poor health? He had one foot in the grave, his face was lifeless, and his corpse spots were everywhere, but he still came to attend this kind of young people's dance. This aroused Elizabeth's curiosity. Castain's head was a mess, and he didn't know how to answer. The Earl was injured on the battlefield, and I am his butler. Fang Qingyan smiled and answered for him. Elizabeth's eyes lit up, and she quickly asked the maid to bring a chair and sit down. The beautiful blue eyes looked at Castain. I like to listen to stories, preferably about love. You are an elder, and you must have experienced unforgettable love. So. I have wine. Do you have a story? Castain was confused. Oh Lilith, the ancestor, he swears that he has never told anyone any stories in his life. Could it be that he and Camilla told the story? Tell her that I am your father. No, he refused. But Castain didn't want to disappoint his daughter. This might be the only time in his life that he had the chance to give his daughter something she liked. But I really can't tell stories. What should I do? Castain was in a dilemma. His lips trembled, his old face turned red, and he didn't utter a word. The Earl has a sore throat. Let me tell the princess. He told me some stories before. At this moment, a calm and gentle voice suddenly came to his ears. Castain turned his head in shock and looked at Fang Qingyan. When did I tell you a story? Why don't I remember it? But he soon realized that Fang Qingyan was helping him. Castain was deeply moved, and Elizabeth, who was sitting opposite, suddenly raised her head in surprise after hearing this sentence. It happened to meet a pair of deep and calm black eyes. The four eyes met. Fang Qingyan chuckled. Princess, do you want to hear more stories? Plop. Elizabeth felt her heart beat suddenly. Fang Qingyan was handsome, but the thing he lacked the most here was his good looks. She felt that this man had something that was hard to explain, something that no one else had. Listen. Elizabeth nodded without hesitation. Please speak. P.S. Little Pujia, please support. I beg for support. Well, I was a best man for a day, and I still managed to squeeze out time to update 8,000 or 9,000 words. It's not easy. Well, please support. Chapter 3:1.as The Little Princess of the Capet Clan. Elizabeth is the focus of the world wherever she goes. What happened here naturally attracted the attention of many people around, and men and women cast their eyes on Fang Qingyan, but these eyes, without exception, all carried undisguised ridicule, mockery, and contempt. Another one who wants to get close to Her Royal Highness by telling stories. Although it's a good idea to cater to her, we've tried this trick before, and it's completely self-humiliating. Elizabeth has read more romance novels since she was a child than I have drunk wine, and her appetite for stories is too picky. Her Royal Highness has long been dissatisfied with ordinary love stories. Elizabeth has been addicted to romance novels since she was 6 years old. To this day, she has already read a lot of books and has become more and more picky about novels. For example, if you read online novels, the more books you read and the longer you read, the easier it is to run out of books. There are so many books in the library, but few books can arouse your interest. Elizabeth has a master-level and senior research on love stories. Before this, there were many noble gentlemen who wanted to cater to her and get closer to her, but without exception, they all humiliated themselves. Often, Elizabeth guessed the ending as soon as she said the beginning. Over time, no one dared to tell stories in front of her anymore, so when everyone saw that someone was so ignorant that he wanted to tell Elizabeth a story, they naturally thought it was ridiculous. Fang Qingyan also heard the whispers around, but he was calm and didn't care. "Princess, please listen carefully." Fang Qingyan smiled, his voice full of magnetism. "This is a story that happened a long, long time ago. The Capulet and the Montague are two major families in a city. The two families have a deep feud and often fight. The Montague family has a son named Romeo. At a banquet, Romeo and Juliet fell in love at first sight. Elizabeth didn't expect this story to be so exciting at first, but when she heard Fang Qingyan finish the beginning, her eyes lit up immediately, and her beautiful eyes bloomed with an unusually bright brilliance. This story started differently from all the love novels she had read before. She hadn't had this strong expectation for the follow-up of the story for a long, long time. The discussions of the people around her gradually became smaller, and they obviously found that the story told by Fang Qingyan was unusual. Fang Qingyan remained calm and narrated the story in a leisurely manner. Romeo invited Juliet to the monastery, and they became husband and wife under the auspices of the priest. When he got to this point, Elizabeth's eyes became blurred, and her beautiful face was filled with unprecedented yearning. Regardless of worldly obstacles, even if she was covered with thorns and blood, she would walk into the palace of marriage with the one she loved. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How romantic. Fang Qingyan glanced at her with a half-smile. Romeo and Juliet is a world-class tragedy classic. Don't be too happy too early. I hope you won't cry for a while. Sure enough, when he talked about Romeo being expelled and becoming a wanderer, and the two lovers being forced to separate, Elizabeth's eyes showed a nervous and anxious look. When it was mentioned that Juliet was forced by her family to marry another male noble, Her Royal Highness the Princess's eyes lit up with anger. When Juliet saw the dead Romeo, she didn't want to live alone. She drew her sword and stabbed herself, and she fell down on Romeo and died. Elizabeth's mouth tightened, and tears fell from the corners of her eyes. She was so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. What a great love is this! Why are two people who love each other unable to be happy, and the final ending is so sad and regrettable? After Fang Qingyan finished speaking, he stood still with a calm expression and watched her silently sobbing. There were also many crying sounds from the surrounding crowd, and a sad and depressed mood spread in the hall. As a world classic tragedy, Romeo and Juliet is definitely a monument in the history of literature. The shock and impact of his first appearance in a different world are unimaginable. Count Castain also burst into tears, because the story of Romeo and Juliet is very similar to his ups and downs love experience with Camilla. It resonated strongly in his heart, but Castain and Camilla are not as miserable as Romeo and Juliet. At least they have a beautiful daughter. A full 3 minutes passed. Elizabeth just came out of her sadness. Her plump chest rose and fell, and she controlled her emotions slightly. She raised her head and looked at Fang Qingyan with red eyes. Love is beautiful and should not end in sadness. Fang Qingyan shook his head. But princess, perfect love only exists in fictional stories. In reality, most of it is tragedy. Elizabeth was silent for a moment, savoring his words carefully, and then asked with a somewhat sad expression, "Is love always so bumpy? Or does it happen occasionally?" "Always." Fang Qingyan said lightly, and added in his heart, "Just like your biological father in front of you, and your mother who died in love." Elizabeth nodded and suddenly burst into tears. Thank you, the story is really wonderful. Although I don't like the ending, I am really touched. Only those who truly understand tragedy can cherish a beautiful life. It's the most wonderful love story I've ever heard. You are welcome. Fang Qingyan chuckled and said, this is the Count's story. I'm just relaying it. Elizabeth was stunned for a moment, then looked at Count Castain in the wheelchair, and said sincerely, thank you for your story, Count Castain. When the old Count heard the thank you from his biological daughter, he burst into tears and was choked with tears and could not speak. Elizabeth thought he was crying because of the story just now. Bang 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 bang, warm applause suddenly sounded. That was the cheers and praises of the surrounding crowd, praise for the love of Romeo and Juliet, of course. There were some gentlemen who were jealous when they saw that the story Fang Qingyan told had such high praise from Elizabeth. Someone said angrily, what about Romeo and Juliet? They are just two disrespectful little kids who stole forbidden fruits. Born in a noble family, one should put the interests of the family first. As a noble, they did something like this. Such a shameful thing, you really deserve to die. However, as soon as this man finished speaking, everyone stared at him angrily. Shut up, you know nothing about love. Although the ending of the story is too tragic and real, I have to say that I really yearn for the love between Romeo and Juliet. You have no right to laugh at two people who truly love each other. The man suddenly turned red and was speechless. I just asked, I have wine, do you have a story? In fact, I didn't have wine, but I lied about a wonderful love story. Elizabeth suddenly showed a sly smile, but this princess is not a robber who takes things by force. She stood up gracefully, then leaned forward slightly with her graceful body, stretched her slender arms forward, and handed her delicate little hand to Fang Qingyan, with a smile that captivated all living beings. Sir, may I ask you to dance? As payment for this story. Boom, for a moment, everyone present was petrified, and then there was an uproar. Everyone reached out and took out their ears in disbelief, suspecting that their ears were broken and they were hearing hallucinations. Elizabeth had never accepted an invitation to a ball from any man. This is the consensus of all the nobles of the Nikala kingdom, but just now, Her Royal Highness the Princess actually invited a strange man to dance with her. For a moment, gazes containing infinite murderous intent enveloped Fang Qingyan. On the high platform in the distance, boom, Earl Jason crushed a goblet. His face was as gloomy as water, veins popped out on his forehead, two fangs protruded, and he stared at Fang Qingyan with violent and ferocious eyes. This damn stinky woman. She rejected me without any dignity, but took the initiative to throw herself into the arms of another man. Damn it. Bitch. Damn it. P.S. Please support. Xiaopuji asks for support. Kneel down and beg. Chapter 32. Earl Jason was so angry that he had the urge to vomit blood. He is the heir of the Riefno clan, the famous His Highness Jason Riefno. He is the only one among the younger generation of the Riefno clan who has been summoned by the Duke's ancestor. The ancestor once said personally that when he reaches the peak of the Count, he will personally give him blood and blood to help him advance to the rank of Marquis. In the aristocratic circle, how many women dreamed of sleeping in his bed, Count Jason. But now, he was outclassed by a young butler who appeared out of nowhere. Shame. This is absolutely a great shame for Jason Revener. And Elizabeth Capet, an ignorant woman. Earl Jason breathed heavily and stared at Fang Qingyan's face. Fang Qingyan felt that if looks could kill, he would have been cut into pieces. He calmly looked at the peerless beauty in front of him, silver white hair, beautiful face, aqua blue eyes, perfect figure. Not only has an outstanding appearance, but also has a refined temperament. There should be no male creature that can refuse the invitation of such a beauty, right? Looking down at the beautiful little hands in front of him, Fang Qingyan sighed in his heart. He shook his head and smiled. I'm sorry, princess, I can't dance. As soon as these words came out, the air froze instantly, and the surroundings fell into deathly silence. Everyone's eyes dropped to the floor. He actually rejected Her Highness the Princess. Isn't this a fool? In the distance, Earl Jason exhaled a long breath. his tense heartstrings gradually relaxed and his clenched fists loosened. He sneered, "If you really dare to touch her, I will let you die quietly." Although he couldn't get it, Earl Jason vowed to conquer this woman. If Fang Qingyan really accepted the invitation, then he had really angered Jason Revener. Although I often use this reason to reject other people's interruptions, but rejecting a girl's invitation is not the behavior a gentleman should do. Elizabeth blinked her beautiful eyes and said mischievously, "I'll give you another chance." Fang Qingyan shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "Your Highness, I have no excuse. I really have never learned to dance." If he was asked to take a bath together, Fang Qingyan probably wouldn't refuse. But he really can't dance, so he doesn't want to show his shame. After all, he spends all his time practicing. Count Castain looked at Elizabeth and then at Fang Qingyan, giving the latter a look of hatred. If he could stand up from the wheelchair, he would like to dance with his daughter instead of Fang Qingyan. "It doesn't matter if you don't know how to dance. I can teach you. It's easy to learn. Forget it. I'm really not interested in dancing. I can't accept the kindness of noble people. I'm sorry, Your Highness." Okay then. A trace of regret flashed in Elizabeth's eyes, but she was not angry. If an ordinary aristocratic lady took the initiative to invite a man to dance and was rejected, she would probably become angry and leave in a hurry, but Elizabeth is a girl who has escaped from low-level tastes. She has noble pursuits and does not care about worldly opinions. "Well, we should leave, Your Highness Princess. See you again when we are destined." Fang Qingyan sensed that there was malicious intent targeting him, so he smiled and said goodbye to Elizabeth. Elizabeth was a little surprised. "Are you about to leave? The dance is not over yet. Come here for the fun, come back with the fun, why wait until the dance is over? It's so fun to talk to you, you're different from everyone else, you're a very interesting person." "Thank you for the compliment, Your Royal Highness. The Earl and I will leave first." Fang Qingyan turned around, waved his hand, and said with a smile, "I still owe you a dance. I will pay you back when I learn how to dance." When Elizabeth heard this, she was inexplicably happy, but her face pretended to be angry. She put her little hands on her hips and seriously corrected, "I owe you a dance. I told you it was the reward for the story. No matter who owes whom, sooner or later the day will come when they will pay it off." Fang Qingyan showed a gentle smile, "Goodbye." "Goodbye." Seeing Fang Qingyan's figure pushing the wheelchair disappear from sight, Elizabeth felt a little disappointed for some reason. In everyone's life, there will always be some surprising and unexpected passers-by, but the passers-by are in a hurry and never linger. "I wonder if I will have another chance to listen to his story again." Elizabeth waved to the maid a little lonely. "I'm a little uncomfortable, please take me home." "Yes, Princess." The maids also felt that the princess seemed to have something on her mind, so they did not force her to stay at the ball. The moonlit night was bleak and the breeze was blowing. Fang Qingyan pushed the wheelchair out of the castle and walked slowly on the deserted street. "Your Majesty, we are going home." No response. Fang Qingyan was stunned for a moment, then realized something. He stopped and fell into a brief silence. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Count Castain closed his eyes, with a satisfied smile on his lips. He leaned against the back of the chair motionlessly, as if he had fallen asleep. Fang Qingyan sighed faintly and murmured, "Because you have fulfilled your last wish, have you given up the battle with the god of death?" Yes, the old count is gone. That was his own choice. He left the world peacefully and happily. He met his daughter and talked to her. He also used Fang Qingyan's mouth and Romeo and Juliet to tell his daughter about his tragic love with Camilla in disguise. Count Castain had never felt that life was so beautiful. "You left so easily. You didn't even say thank you before you died." Fang Qingyan smiled and shook his head. He continued to push the wheelchair and walked along the way home. Snap. Jason Ravno snapped his fingers. Soon, a gust of wind blew from the curtain behind him, and a figure appeared behind the curtain. "Your Highness, what do you want?" A hoarse voice sounded. Earl Jason's eyes revealed a hint of viciousness, and he said lightly, "That boy just now, he offended me, you go and teach him a lesson for me." "I obey your order." that the curtain swayed slightly, and the figure disappeared. Earl Jason's mouth curled up, and a touch of satisfaction appeared on his face. Brat, you are good at telling stories, right? You may never have the chance to tell stories again in the future. In fact, Fang Qingyan is innocent, because it was Elizabeth who rejected Earl Jason, it was Elizabeth who asked to tell stories, and it was Elizabeth who took the initiative to invite dance. But Earl Jason did not dare to attack Elizabeth, so he vented his anger on Fang Qingyan. Most of the royal kneeling people bully the weak and fear the strong. It is not difficult to understand. Earl Jason stood up, pulled the beauty next to him, and entered the dance floor. The dance is still going on. P.S. I just received a notification that the contract was signed successfully. Woohoo! Xiaopuji asks for support. This book is definitely impossible to cut. Xiaopuji will work hard to write it. Chapter 33. Fang Qingyan brought the old count's body back to Castini Castle. Looking at the ancient castle with a long history in front of him, Fang Qingyan felt a little sad. Many stories have happened in this castle, including old housekeeper Albert, the tax collection team, Count Castain. Many people have left their footprints here, but there is no doubt that they will all come to an end today. Click. The door of the room opened. Fang Qingyan put Castaini's body into the coffin. When he was about to close the coffin lid, he hesitated for a moment, thought about it, and then moved the old count's body out. When a person dies, it's like a light goes out. I'll change you into a new coat so you can go in a decent way. Fang Qingyan walked to Castain's closet, opened it, and picked out a set of dark purple robes that the old count liked to wear most. Then he laid Castain flat and unbuttoned his dress. Something suddenly fell out of the sleeve of the dress and fell to the ground, making a strange sound. Fang Qingyan was stunned for a moment, and looked in the direction of the sound. It turned out to be a yellow envelope. Why is the old count still carrying an unsent letter? Who is it written to? He reached out and picked up the envelope with a puzzled look. When he saw the signature on it, his eyes widened. Edward Dracula himself. He was a little surprised. For me? And looking at the ink on it, this letter was written several months ago, but it has been hidden by the old count. Tear. Fang Qingyan opened the envelope and took out a piece of parchment inside. The new content is: Edward, when you see this letter, it means that I have arrived at the kingdom of God of Lilith. I know you won't be sad, at most you will feel a little disappointed. After all, we have only been together for a few short years, and I haven't done you much favor. In fact, I know that the drop of blood essence was not given to me by Marquis Brooke. The moment I took the blood essence, I realized that my butler was actually a marquis with terrifying strength. Fang Qingyan's mouth twitched, and he turned to the next page to continue reading. Is it surprising? I don't know how I saw through it. It's not surprising. I have been in the world for 500 years. Before, I had taken a drop of Marquis Brooke's blood essence, which enabled me to advance from Viscount to Earl. Marquis Brooke is a 6-winged Marquis at the peak level. I really thank you for saving my dying life. People whose blood and chi are eroded by the toxins of the Medusa clan are very painful to live. Every minute and every second is torture, and life is worse than death. But I really want to see Elizabeth again. I have been ashamed of them all my life, and I have not been able to give Camilla and Elizabeth a happy life. But this is reality. Everyone will face difficult choices and the test of fate when they are alive. Finally, whether this wish can be realized or not, I will repay you with a shocking secret. Shocking secret? Fang Qingyan raised his eyebrows. What other secrets can shock this double-winged marquis? He continued to read. You should have heard the legend about the 9 princes of the Blood clan and the secrets of the 12-winged blood ancestors. But you definitely don't know why the 9 princes who are said to be immortal died. As well as the hundreds of thousands of our Blood clan. The reason why no new prince was born. I can show you a path, and the answer you want should be there. 200 years ago, in a war with the orcs in the Draenor Mountains, my army was crippled, and I fled to a deep mountain. There, I discovered an underground palace. After some exploration, I was shocked to find that this is actually the tomb of a prince and blood ancestor of our Blood clan hundreds of thousands of years ago. There is a huge, indestructible stone door outside the palace. The entrance door is closed, but there is a key on it. It seems to be left on purpose for people to open and enter. But I tried my best and couldn't turn the key. The door seemed to be mocking me. The Count was not worthy to enter. I was very unwilling. I tried again and again, over and over, and finally gave up. But I took the key out, thinking that one day I would become a marquis and come back to give it a try. Now it seems that I can't wait for that day. Ha ha ha, life is unpredictable. This is the second biggest secret in my heart. I have never revealed it to anyone for so many years. When Camilla said goodbye to me, I gave the key to her. It should be with Elizabeth now. This mausoleum of the Blood Prince is a gift from me, but please promise me one thing. When you go to get the key, you must not hurt Elizabeth. She is a good child. Finally, I wish you good luck, Edward. I hope you don't turn into a pile of lust like me, and die sadly. Finished reading the letter, Fang Qingyan was filled with emotions. In fact, with his system, he did not lack the so-called cultivation resources at all, but the old Count also had good intentions and used such a big secret as a thank you to Qingyan. A prince's tomb is still worth a visit. Maybe there will be unexpected discoveries. Fang Qingyan thought in his heart, but then he felt a little speechless. He had just separated from Elizabeth, and was he going to run to her to get the key again? Looking down at the old Count's body, Fang Qingyan shook his head and put aside his distracting thoughts. He knelt down and continued to change his shroud. A quarter of an hour later, there is an additional tomb in the garden behind the castle, where Count Castain will rest. Should there be an epitaph? Fang Qingyan looked at the tombstone, thought for a while, then raised his hand and made gestures with his long index finger in the air. As the sound of shichikachichi sounded, there was an additional line of words on the tombstone. He had a rough life, but he had a daughter he was proud of, named Elizabeth. Call out. A sound broke through the air. Pet Shah flew onto Fang Qingyan's shoulder and rubbed her head affectionately against her master's hair. Chirp. Fang Qingyan reached out and touched its gorgeous feathers, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I will take you with me wherever I go next. Let's leave this place after I pack my things." Chirp. Suddenly, a strange look appeared on his face, and he sighed helplessly. "But before leaving, let's get rid of this annoying fly first." Fang Qingyan's mental power has already noticed that someone is approaching with malicious intentions. The target was clearly him. P.S. Please support, please support. Xiaopuji asks for support. Chapter 34. The sound of breaking through the sky sounded in the night. A black shadow flew at an extremely fast speed and approached Castain Castle. André looked at the castle in front of him and couldn't help but stick out his tongue and lick his lips. His ferocious fangs radiated cold light, and his blood-red eyes revealed a bloodthirsty desire. He is the personal bodyguard of Count Jason Riefnor, a powerful late-stage earl, and the sharpest minion of Jason Riefnor. André had handled countless dirty things for him, such as helping Count Jason assassinate his competitors, and often abducted the beauties he liked back to his room at night. This time is no exception. The task is to silence a young butler. Well, although Earl Jason's words would teach him a hard lesson, André, who was familiar with his master's character, knew very well that His Highness would be unhappy if he was left alive. Call out. He flew straight into the castle. I let go of my mental power and sensed it for a while, then said and frowned, thinking, where is the person? Did I fly too fast and they haven't come back yet? No, I'm back already. Look back. Suddenly an indifferent voice sounded in his ears. Listening to this voice, the enemy was standing half a meter behind him. André's hair stood up all over his body in an instant, and he turned around suddenly and punched out, causing the air to vibrate with a boom. However, his eyes widened because there was no one behind him and the punch was empty. Who is talking? Is it a human or a ghost? Fear welled up in him. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course I'm the one talking. Not a human, but a ghost, a vampire. The voice sounded behind him again. André was going crazy, feeling creepy, because the other party could actually read his inner thoughts. He turned and roared, "Don't hide, if you are a man, stand up openly and fight with me." It's you. He stopped talking halfway because he finally saw someone. the little housekeeper stood straight 5 meters in front of him, his hands hanging naturally, without any defensive posture, and even with a hint of laziness on his face. Playing tricks. Andre gritted his teeth, his eyes locked on Fang Qingyan fiercely, but he did not act rashly, and was extremely vigilant in his heart. What happened just now was too weird, he couldn't figure out the strength of this little housekeeper, and didn't dare to attack rashly. Fang Qingyan waited for a few seconds, and seeing that this guy was hesitating and not taking any action, he frowned and said impatiently, "Are you coming or not? If not, I'll go over." Does he, a marquis, have to take the initiative to bully a weak person? Please come and hit me quickly, and then I'll kill you in seconds. Humph. How could I fall for such a clumsy trap? Andre sneered and took a step back. You must have mastered the superpower that can produce extremely high bursts at close range, so you deliberately lured me over. As a strong man who has experienced many battles, Andre has extremely rich combat experience. Fang Qingyan was speechless. Andre thought he was on the 5th floor, but he was really on the 1st floor, but he didn't want to waste time with this guy now. Snap. Fang Qingyan snapped his fingers and said lightly, "Patraxia, kill him." Cry. An eagle cry that shook the sky sounded. Then the sound of breaking through the air came. Andre's pupils contracted violently, and the shadow of death enveloped his heart, with a warning sign. Without thinking, he jumped to the side and then flew high. Rumble, amid the huge roar, a deep pit with a diameter of tens of meters was broken on the ground, and stones and dust flew. Petshaw missed the attack, without any hesitation, his sharp and cold eagle eyes locked Andre in the air, and his wings shook suddenly. Chi. In an instant, thousands of blue-gold wind blades shot out like a hurricane, breaking through the air and killing Andre. Peak war beast. Andre screamed in shock, his body shook, and released a powerful blood and chi power to form an energy defense shield in front of him. Dang! The translucent wind blade slashed on it, like slashing on metal, leaving a terrible gully. Thousands of wind blades were wrapped in ruthless murderous aura, slashing densely, and Andre's blood shield only lasted less than half a second before it broke with a crack. Damn it! Andre's face changed drastically, and he dodged the wind blades in the air, and then found the right time to fly out of the coverage of the wind blades. Just after he breathed a sigh of relief, his face suddenly froze, and a cold wind blew behind his head. No. Puff. Patraxia had appeared behind him at some point, and it twisted Andre's head off easily with claws like diamond forging. The headless body fell from a high altitude, red blood sprayed along the broken neck. Flutter, Patraxia flapped its wings, grabbed Andre's head, and flew back to Fang Qingyan. Well done, and you know how to make a feint to the east and attack in the west, which is quite smart. Fang Qingyan smiled and praised it. Chirp. Petra raised her little head proudly. Ah! Don't kill me. Please don't kill me, let me live. A shout sounded. Andre's eyes were filled with fear, and he begged for mercy again and again. His head was twisted off, but he was still alive. He used the power of blood and chi to seal the blood vessels. The granulation at the broken end was wriggling, and he was growing the lost body at a speed visible to the naked eye. This shows how tenacious the vitality of the Earl-level blood clan is. It doesn't matter if the body is destroyed. As long as there is enough blood and chi, it can be reshaped. Who sent you to kill me? Fang Qingyan asked Andre's head with a calm expression. If I tell you, can you not kill me? Andre asked in a trembling voice, his eyes full of hope. Fang Qingyan shook his head, of course not. Then I will never tell you. Andre's eyes were fierce. If I die, someone else will come to kill you, and you will never have peace. Better let me go. Fang Qingyan joked, have you forgotten that I can read minds? I just asked casually just now, why did you take it seriously? Andre's face changed. You. Fang Qingyan pouted at Petshaw, go ahead. Puff. Patraxia grabbed Andre's head with 2 eagle claws and blew it directly, and the brains flowed all over the floor. He couldn't even beat Fang Qingyan's pet, and he still wanted to kill him, which was simply courting death. Fang Qingyan murmured, before it was Marston Brooke, and now there is Jason Ravno. These royal nobles, how can they be narrow-minded and petty? It's just the same, that even if he is so low-key, there are still people who want to provoke him, and every time he beats the younger ones, the older ones come, which is very annoying. Last time in the town of Bonn, he killed 2 of Marston's guards, so it made sense for him to be targeted by Marston, but this time, he didn't even touch Elizabeth's hand. Jason Revener was going to have him killed. Fang Qingyan was a little angry. The prom in Fort Jason isn't over yet, right? Just in time, I'm here to help you with the curtain call. P.S. 4th update, please support, Chapter 35. Riefno clan territory, Lord Jason's castle. The aristocratic dance is still not over, and the singing and dancing are now in full swing. Jejia Andrew should have killed that annoying boy. Earl Jason walked out of the dance floor, came to a luxurious stand, and sat on a luxurious sofa made of high-grade Warcraft leather. He is in a good mood now, because Andre has never failed in the hundreds of years he has followed him, and Andre can complete all tasks beautifully. That kid is already a dead man. Count Jason firmly believes this. Bang, that he snapped his fingers. Immediately, a sexy vampire maid brought red wine and a tray to pour wine for him. After taking a sip of the rich red wine, Earl Jason looked at the maid again, showing a lewd expression. Baby, can you stay with me tonight? Oh, your highness is so annoying. What should I do if someone sees me? Having said that, the maid's body has been leaning forward involuntarily. Earl Jason was a little distracted and was about to communicate further, but inexplicably, the image of Elizabeth appeared in his mind. I lost all interest for a moment. The maid wanted to unbutton her buttons, but he slapped her face with his backhand and drove her away arbitrarily. Get out. Bitch. Your Majesty. Your Majesty, forgive me. That the maid was horrified and quickly backed away with her face covered. Anger arose in Earl Jason's heart. The reason why he is so obsessed with Elizabeth is because she is not like other women, who will come and go as soon as they are attracted. Other women acted innocent, noble, and proud in front of him, but they were basically just pretending. Secretly, they wanted to marry into the Riefno clan immediately, but Elizabeth's nobility, innocence, and otherworldly temperament are all genuine. Earl Jason admitted that he was a bit of a bitch. The more he wanted to get what he couldn't get, he knew that he was cruel, insidious, petty-minded, and moody, but he did not think that these things were flaws in his character at all. Instead, he stubbornly believed that the nobles of the royal family should be like this in order to be different from ordinary nobles. Spoiler. Earl Jason took a swig of wine, looked at the feasting on the dance floor, gritted his teeth and said, Elizabeth, you can't escape my grasp. After that, another mouthful of wine went down his throat. Your Highness Jason, drink less alcohol. A voice suddenly came from my ears. Earl Jason suddenly became furious and shouted, Are you teaching me how to do things? Get out. He didn't even bother to look back to see who the person was who cared about him. He was probably another flatterer who wanted to please him. What I mean is that alcohol will numb the pain nerves in the body. In this way, when I hit you, the pain you suffer will be alleviated, which makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm not in the mood to take in my little brother now. Just give me. Wait, what did you say? Earl Jason reacted and woke up instantly. He stood up suddenly and turned around, his eyes widening immediately. Fang Qingyan stood politely on the side, with a sunny smile on his lips. Your Highness, it's getting late, it's time to get beaten. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Earl Jason rubbed his eyes vigorously to make sure that he had seen correctly. The little butler who pleased Elizabeth was standing in front of him at this moment, and he said that he would beat him. It was only then that he realized that the atmosphere around him was a little strange. Turning his head to look, Earl Jason stood stunned on the spot, his face full of disbelief. In the entire ballroom, there were hundreds of people, all of them were like clay and wood sculptures, maintaining the same posture, motionless, as if they had been subjected to a body-holding spell. Creepy. You control everyone with your mental power. You are the Marquis? Earl Jason stumbled back a few steps and looked at Fang Qingyan in horror. The aristocratic ball he held today included more than a dozen earls among the invitees, and 4 of them were even at the peak of the earl level. If you want to use mental power to immobilize hundreds of people at the same time, the only explanation is this. This little butler is the powerful Marquis of Terror. I actually sent someone to assassinate a marquis. Earl Jason's face was ashen, Fang Qingyan's smile remained unchanged, and his voice was very calm, kneel down. What? Earl Jason was stunned. Fang Qingyan said, I want you to kneel down. He understood this time. Asshole. Do you know who I am? On the territory of my Riefnor clan, you let one of my family heirs kneel down to you? Are you crazy? Earl Jason roared like he was losing his mind, I am a royal noble. I know, the royal family is a Neil clan, I know. Fang Qingyan pressed his hand and motioned for him to calm down. Why are you shouting so loudly? After roaring, Earl Jason gradually regained his composure, and fear came to mind again. I mean, even if you are a marquis, you cannot ask one of my royal nobles to kneel down to you. This is not in line with the etiquette of the kingdom. I have only kneeled down in front of the Duke's ancestors. He swallowed hard, considered his words, and his tone was not as aggressive as before. He was really scared. If the Marquis wanted to kill him, it would be easier than killing a chicken. At this moment, there were no marquises in the family to protect him. Can he not be cowardly? In fact, he also wanted to remind Fang Qingyan that the Riefno clan has a duke in charge, so don't mess with me. I can apologize to you. I was blind and did not recognize you, Lord Marquis. Earl Jason said with rapid breathing, in fact, I don't even recognize it now. There are only a dozen or 20 Marquis in the vampire clan in total. He knows basically every one of them, but he has never met the little butler Marquis in front of him who is irritated by him. You pissed me off, and an apology can't solve it. Fang Qingyan stared at him for 3 seconds, then put away his smile and his voice became colder. Count Jason's heart almost jumped out of his throat, and he said quickly, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, Lord Marquis. For my father's sake, please let me go this time. His tone was really sincere. Fang Qingyan frowned. Why is this guy more coward than Marston? Did you really ignore your royal status, bow your head, admit your mistake, and beg for forgiveness? There was a flash of hesitation in his eyes. How about beating him up and leaving him alive? Fang Qingyan is not a narrow-minded person, and he doesn't like bullying the weak. While I was thinking about it, I suddenly heard the inner voice of Earl Jason. Humph. You bitch, as long as you let me survive today, you won't survive tomorrow. After I escape, I will go find my father immediately. Even if you are a marquis, in front of the father of the six-winged marquis, you will only be destroyed. Killed. Although Fang Qingyan's heart was full of resentment, cruelty, and hatred, but there wasn't even a single flaw on his face. He pretended to be pitiful, timid and fearful, with pleading eyes. Alas! Fang Qingyan sighed, if you are still a human being in the next life, don't think about it. I didn't even plan to kill you. Earl Jason's face suddenly turned pale. He knew what I was thinking. No, Boom! Fang Qingyan had no expression on his face and took the picture with one palm. Earl Jason turned into a pile of minced meat, and blood flowed down the stairs into the dance floor. It's easy to change a country's nature, but it's hard to change its nature. I shouldn't have hesitated just now. Fang Qingyan murmured, then smiled and said, but if I encounter this kind of thing again in the future, I won't hesitate anymore. The space fluctuated, his figure disappeared out of thin air, all the people who were immobilized at the ball started moving again, singing, drinking, dancing, talking and laughing. They had no idea that they had been immobilized with spiritual power for a period of time. After a few minutes, an eardrum-piercing scream shot straight into the sky. His Highness Jason was assassinated. The crowd roared, the dance party has officially ended. P.S. Thank you for your support, here comes the 5th update. Xiaopuji will work hard. I won't let down everyone's support, Chapter 36. Who killed my son Jason? A terrifying roar suddenly resounded over the entire Riefno clan. Rumble, the sound waves containing the power of violent energy and blood swept across like a tsunami, and tall buildings collapsed and shattered. For a moment, it felt like the end of the world. Everyone was so frightened that they knelt on the ground with their foreheads pressed to the ground. Marquis Riefno rushed out of the secret room of seclusion, like an angry demon, looking up to the sky and roaring. "Who killed my son? I will make your life worse than death, blood for blood." Marquis Riefno had a total of 2 children, both of whom were the future heirs of the family. Among them, the one he was most proud of was Jason Riefno. He spent countless efforts cultivating his son, but he was killed. The moment he felt his son's energy and blood dissipate, Marquis Riefno became so angry that he lost his mind. Boo-hoo-hoo. 3 or 4 blasts broke through the air in succession. The other 4 powerful marquises from the Riefno clan who were in charge of the family finally flew in. They all knelt down on one knee in unison, with a sound like thunder. "Master, calm down. Please calm down. We will definitely investigate the death of His Highness Jason. The murderer will pay for it sooner or later. I have ordered people to strictly seal the area of 100 miles around His Royal Highness Jason's castle. All the people attending the ball will be investigated one by one. We will definitely find the murderer. Please calm down, Master." Behind Marquis Riefno, 6 blood-red flesh wings spread out, ferocious and terrifying, with the power of blood visible to the naked eye all over his body, like wild dragons surrounding him, with a pressure that could destroy the world, making the 4 Marquis. They all turned pale and had difficulty breathing. The 4 realms of the Marquis: 0 wings, double wings, 4 wings, and 6 wings, 1 step at a time. 1 step at a time, 1 step at a time. If one pair of wings is missing, the gap in strength will be like a chasm. Marquis Riefno is the 6-winged Marquis who stands at the pinnacle of this realm. You want me to calm down? Jiji. He let out a bloodthirsty smile, extremely crazy. It's not your son who died, of course you can calm down. My son Jason was killed in the territory of the Riefno clan. You are all responsible. You allowed the murderer to commit suicide. It's an accomplice. The faces of the 4 Marquis were extremely ugly, because Marquis Riefno actually wanted to beat them to vent his anger. For a moment, the 4 of them stepped back in unison, looking wary and afraid of this old madman. The Duke of Riefnor alone could tyrannize 4 of them. Angus, enough is enough. Suddenly, an extremely old but majestic voice sounded in the sky above the territory of the Riefno clan. Everyone's expressions suddenly changed and became extremely respectful. Marquis Riefno, who was crazy just a moment ago, immediately regained his composure. As the head of the family, he also knelt down on one knee in awe. Angus was the name of the Marquis of Revenod. There is only one person in the entire family who dares to call him that, and that is the ancestor of the Riefno clan, Duke Riefno. But Angus still felt aggrieved, and he shouted loudly, "Please, ancestors, make the decision for my son Jason." After 3 seconds of silence, the ancestor's voice sounded again. "Jason is a good boy. I have always admired him. The murderer must be punished. Go and investigate. Find out clearly and clearly. The truth will come to light after the investigation. If it is really the murder of the other 6 royal families, it's time for me to come out and walk around. It seems that after being in seclusion for thousands of years, some people have begun to forget my name, Adolf Riefno." Angus burst into tears. "Thank you, ancestors, for upholding justice." Just when the Riefno clan was furious because of the murder of Count Jason, Fang Qingyan was already thousands of miles away. After leaving the territory of the Riefno clan, he moved to the Cape clan. At this time, he was wearing a red robe worn by an ordinary noble, low-key and unassuming. The Cape clan has a huge power. It originally owned 39 cities. In the past few years, the orcs captured a few of them, but it didn't hurt. The family is still big and powerful. The largest city among them is called Bristol. Fang Qingyan raised his head and looked at the majestic Bristol city in front of him, his eyes flickering slightly. All the direct clans of the Cape clan live in this city, including of course Elizabeth. After the death of old Count Castain, news will soon reach the Brooke clan. Although the fiefdom can be inherited hereditary, the identity of the old Earl's only heir, Elizabeth, cannot be seen in the light, so when the time comes, the Brooke clan will send people to take back the old Count's fiefdom and give it to other nobles again. It's not like Fang Qingyan has no place to go, on the contrary, with his current strength. He can go anywhere in the world, but before he set off, he thought of the prince's tomb mentioned by the old Count Castain, and the key was still on Elizabeth's body, so he simply brought Pet Shah over directly. After entering the city, we checked into a hotel. When registering his identity, he still used the name Edward Dracula. He has not changed it and does not need to change it. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. His current identity is, the last steward of Count Castain of the Brooke clan, an ordinary baron noble, Edward Dracula. Enter the hotel room. Fang Qingyan kicked away the inferior coffin brought by the hotel, took out his love coffin worth 8,000 gold coins from the system backpack, and put it on. Lie in the coffin and close the coffin lid. Petra flew in from the window and squatted on the coffin lid obediently. System, sign in. Ding. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 8-star magic weapon, Qianji mask. A translucent leather mask as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in his hand. It looks inconspicuous, but its effect is amazing. The 1000 machine mask has 3 functions. After wearing it, it can block all its own breath and isolate any form of tracking. Change your appearance, body shape, and figure at will, and you can become anyone's appearance. Greatly improve the strength of mental power, enhance the power, effect, and endurance of superpowers. Fang Qingyan's eyes burst into brilliance, and he couldn't put down the 1000 machine mask. He put it on his face without hesitation. The mask is like a transparent mask. After putting it on, there is no difference between before and after wearing it. Fang Qingyan's mind moved, and the bones and muscles of his body made crackling sounds, and the skin on his face came alive and squirmed. Soon, his appearance, figure, and hairstyle all turned into old Count Castain. It's so real. Even if old housekeeper Albert came, it would be impossible to judge the authenticity from the appearance. After that, he tried to become a child, a baby, a woman, an old woman, and he did it easily. It can be called a divine weapon. Thousands of changes, that is, Qianji. The Qianji mask is a purely functional 8-star magic weapon. Although it does not have the attack power of the Death Scythe, it helps me a lot. Fang Qingyan was extremely satisfied. Sure enough, after changing the place to sign in, my luck got better. The Revno clan wants to track down the murderer. Dream on. P.S. The 6th update. Other authors basically have 1,500 words per chapter, and Xiaopuji has more than 2,000 words per chapter. I work very hard. Please support. Chapter 37. Capet Clan, Bristol City, Marquis Murphy's Castle. Princess Elizabeth has returned at this time. Surrounded by maids, she walked towards her bedroom. As soon as she got home, the princess changed completely. She was no longer sulking. Her beautiful face was filled with an innocent smile, and her blue eyes were shining brightly, which made her already beautiful even more stunning. Hurry up, hurry up, she rushed to the front and turned back to urge the maids. The maids looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Princess, you have been out for such a long time, aren't you attracted by the prosperity and beauty of the world? As soon as she got home, she wanted to dive into the ocean of books. Her nature as a homegirl was exposed. Creak, Elizabeth excitedly opened the door of her room, and what came into her sight were more than a dozen empty bookshelves. The smile on her face slowly disappeared, and she was suddenly no longer happy. Ah! Damn it! Why hasn't my father returned my books yet? Her pretty eyebrows were raised, her hands were on her hips, her beautiful eyes were cold, and her cute silver teeth were clacking. The master of the family is busy with official duties, so he may have forgotten. The earl's maid comforted her softly, knowing that the princess, who always loved books, must be in a very bad mood and on the verge of going crazy. Go. Call my father over. He loves me less and less. Confiscating my books is like taking my life. He's too much. Elizabeth's mouth shrank, and tears rolled in her eyes. The baby was so wronged. She went to the Jasonberg ball as her father wanted, but her hundreds of thousands of love novels still didn't come back. Elizabeth. My dear daughter. Are you back? Suddenly, an anxious and panicked shout came, a black shadow broke through the air and rushed into the room almost instantly, so fast that even the maids around couldn't react. Oh Ancestor Lilith, thank you for blessing my daughter. A plump spherical object held Elizabeth in his arms, cherishing her like the flesh in his palm. This huge spherical object is none other than the head of the Capet clan, Marquis Morpheus. Woo-woo father, let me go, you are too fat, I can't breathe. Elizabeth struggled frantically. She was disgusted with her father's behavior. The main reason was that Marquis Morpheus was really too fat, 1.9 meters tall and weighing 800 pounds. He was a spherical creature. But don't underestimate this fat Marquis, he is very powerful. Among the heads of the 7 major clans, Marquis Morpheus is a terrifying strong man who can rank in the top 3. The reason why he is so fat is that he has practiced a high-level secret technique of the Blood Clan. Ahem, okay. Marquis Morpheus quickly let go of his hand, the fat on his face trembled a few times like the waves, and he smiled awkwardly. I'm glad you're okay, I'm worried to death. Elizabeth pouted her little mouth and looked unhappy. Who said it's okay? I have something wrong. What? Marquis Morpheus was immediately furious. That fanatic assassin hurt you. Where is the injury? Let father see. What kind of assassin? Elizabeth stared with beautiful eyes, and said angrily, does it have to be a trauma if something happens? I'm sad, this is called something wrong. I went to the ball according to your wishes, please take my return the book to me, otherwise I will be really angry. Okay. Marquis Morpheus nodded quickly, then looked at the maid next to him, and his voice returned to its former majesty. Why are you standing there stunned? Why don't you hurry up and bring all Elizabeth's books back? I obey my orders. Several maids immediately took orders and left. Although Morpheus and Angus are both heads of the 7 royal clans, it is obvious that their personalities are very different. Angus is known as a lunatic, but Murphy is like a living treasure in front of his daughter. By the way, what assassin did you just say? Elizabeth then remembered and asked curiously. Marquis Morpheus's expression was extremely serious and he said in a deep voice, you probably don't know yet, right? Not long after you left Fort Jason Riefno was assassinated. The assassin was a Marquis. Blood Clan. Ah, Elizabeth couldn't help but exclaimed, and was also shocked by the news. Is that self-righteous Earl Jason going to die like this? To die? That she was a little scared and shrank back. Marquis Morpheus nodded and said with a very solemn expression, that's why I'm so worried about you, afraid that something will happen to you. After all, there is absolutely no way that your personal maids can compete with the Marquis. Fortunately, you are fine. When Elizabeth heard this, she puffed up her chest proudly and raised her delicate nose. Now do you know the benefits of staying at home? Let's see if you still dare to let me go out. One day I will be assassinated. Now, just hold my body and cry bitterly and regret it. Alas! Marquis Morpheus looked at his precious daughter with doting and loving eyes. He suddenly sighed and said quietly, Elizabeth, although I don't want you to be buried in a pile of books every day, but Nicola is indeed in a strange state now. It's best not to go out. A few years ago, the heir to the Brooke clan, Earl Marston, was killed by a mysterious man. The murderer has not yet been found. Now another heir of the Riefno family has been assassinated. I suspect that both of these things were done by the same person. This guy specifically targets the heirs of our royal family, so naturally he may also target you. A fierce light flashed in the eyes of Marquis Morpheus. My original choice was right. I kept you in my castle and didn't agree with you to move out and live alone. Take a look, Marston Blue he and Jason Riefno are a lesson learned from the past. In fact, this is indeed the case. If those two guys stayed in the main castle like Elizabeth, it would be almost difficult for Fang Qingyan to kill them. Father, you don't have to worry about me. I never offend others. Who would come to kill me? Elizabeth felt Marquis Morpheus's worry, and she smiled to comfort her father. Ha, Elizabeth, you look down on me too much. As long as he dares to come, my father will make him come back. Marquis Morpheus laughed happily. The next day, Fang Qingyan walked on the night-shrouded street. It was very lively with people coming and going, and he shuttled among them. Night is the most active time for vampires. He headed towards the castle of Marquis Morpheus. Entering the castle is easy, but trying to take the key from Elizabeth under the nose of a six-winged marquis is too difficult. Fang Qingyan began to think about a plan in his mind. In fact, it was not necessary to go to the prince's tomb. In contrast, he wanted to find a place to practice quietly, and Elizabeth is the old earl's daughter. Even if Fang Qingyan wanted to get the key, he would not resort to stealing, robbing, or deceiving these methods. Although the key is used to unlock the door, for Elizabeth, the key is the only relic left to her by her parents, and it has a very important meaning. So I want to take it openly and let her hand it over willingly. Fang Qingyan raised his head, glanced at the Marquis castle standing in front of him, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Your Highness, we are meeting again. P.S. Please support me. Here comes the 7th update, Chapter 38. Fang Qingyan was stopped by two guards outside the gate of the Marquis castle. What are you doing? This is the residence of Marquis Morpheus. No one is allowed to enter. The guards shouted loudly and started to shout. Fang Qingyan raised his hood slightly, revealing a handsome face with a smile. Hello, my name is Edward Dracula. Is there anyone missing here? Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two guards were stunned when they heard this. Then he took a closer look at the handsome young man in front of him. Are you here to seek refuge with the Marquis mansion? The guard asked suspiciously. Which master did you follow before? As one of the 7 royal clans, it is not unusual for people to defect to Morpheus Castle every now and then. The royal clans also very much welcome people with ability or strength to join. To put it simply, it is applying for a job. Although the royal clan is domineering and tough, and is accustomed to rule with violence, ordinary nobles are still eager to join the royal family. For example, Count Castain, when he was still a viscount, defected to the Brooke clan, and then made countless contributions and hard work, was promoted many times, and was even given a fief. The two guards were used to seeing people like this. After all, if ordinary nobles want to get ahead, the best way is to join the royal family. I followed Count Castain of the Brooke clan. There was a touch of sadness on Fang Qingyan's face, but a few days ago, the old earl passed away, the fief was taken back, and I fell into the dilemma of being homeless. While speaking, he handed over his brooch with the Castain family crest printed on it. Albert's grandfather, father, and himself all wore this brooch. Life and death are impermanent, so be sorry. The guard took the brooch, gave a symbolic comfort, and then handed the thing to his companion. Go and verify it. If the identity is true, ask the butler if he will accept the person. The companion nodded, turned around and entered the castle with the brooch in hand. Fang Qingyan watched their actions calmly. If he were a commoner, he would have been kicked away long ago, but ordinary nobles were also nobles, and the lowest baron could enjoy courtesy that commoners could not enjoy. A few minutes later, the guard came out and returned the brooch to Fang Qingyan. The identity is correct. Your name is Edward, right? The butler said that he will give you 3 choices. The first is to join the castle guard, the second is to be a servant of His Highness and a handyman, and the last choice is to be a librarian. The guard said to Fang Qingyan politely. Fang Qingyan blinked his eyes. Isn't there an option to be the consort? Ahem. He carefully considered 3 options. In the end, the first and second ones were directly rejected. Whether you are a bodyguard or a nanny, you have to deal with people all the time. If you are not careful, you will get into trouble. Fang Qingyan doesn't want to be disturbed. Can you tell me more about the job of a librarian? I can't fight or wait for others. I want to find a more leisurely job. Fang Qingyan asked. When the 2 guards heard this, they immediately showed disgust in their eyes, feeling that Fang Qingyan had no dreams. The 2 most promising options were ruled out outright. If you work as a guard, you will have the opportunity to make military exploits and be promoted. If you work as a servant, you may gain the appreciation of your master and soar into the sky. The librarian knew just from the sound of it that he had little chance of getting ahead. therefore, both of them mentally labeled Fang Qingyan as a salted fish. Ahem, Her Royal Highness the Princess's library is too big and contains too many books, so it needs someone to take care of it regularly. I would like to advise you, if you really want to make a difference in the future, the best choice is to join the guards. The guard puffed up his chest proudly. A real man should wear armor, hold a sharp sword, and kill the enemy with meritorious deeds. Well said. This is the choice of a bloody man. Fang Qingyan nodded and said seriously, so, I want to be a librarian. Guard. He is not a middle-aged boy who easily gets hot-headed. What's good about fighting and killing? Wouldn't it be nice to practice quietly and become stronger? After a few minutes, Fang Qingyan met the chief steward of the Marquis Castle, who was also an earl. My name is Bud, and they all call me Butler Bud. Old Butler Bard was wearing a gorgeous purple robe. He was very imposing and his eyes were very sharp. As he led Fang Qingyan towards the library, he said, although you are helping Her Royal Highness manage the library, you basically have no chance to see Her Highness. There are millions of books in the library. You must organize it when you are sorting it out. Be careful not to break it. Fang Qingyan nodded, okay, I understand. He got a lot of information from Bud's old housekeeper. The library is actually the library of Marquis Morpheus, but unfortunately it was occupied by Elizabeth. After she reads the books in the room, she will ask people to pick up the books from the library and move all the books she has read back to the library. The work that Fang Qingyan needs to do is actually very simple. Every time the princess sent someone to pick up a book, he had to help find all the books the princess wanted to read. Every time the princess sends someone to return a book, he has to be responsible for putting the books back in their original places. In addition, occasionally their royal highnesses and princesses from other royal families will come to read and borrow books, and they can just sort them out after they leave. Then there is no work. Servants will be responsible for trivial matters such as dusting and cleaning. We're here. This is it. When they arrived at the door of a very large building, the two stopped. The style of this building resembles a large library, with only 2 floors, but it covers a large area. Old Butler Bader handed Fang Qingyan a bunch of keys. This is the key to all the doors in the library. Your room is also in it. Someone will bring you 3 meals a day. All you need to do is guard the library every step of the way. If someone breaks in, call the guards. Fang Qingyan nodded and took the key. After old Butler Bard finished explaining everything that needed to be explained, he stopped paying attention to him and turned around to leave. Crunch, open the library door. Entering it, Fang Qingyan looked around and saw huge bookshelves 3 meters high and 5 meters long. They were neatly filled with books, densely packed and endless as far as the eye could see. This job is actually not as simple as it seems. The administrator needs to be knowledgeable and memorize to know the name of each book and its location. There is also a floor full of books on the 2nd floor. Fang Qingyan's room is on the 2nd floor. The space inside is very spacious, twice as big as the butler's room in Castle Castain. It is fully furnished, exquisitely decorated, and has a quiet environment. Bang! Fang Qingyan took out his love coffin and placed it. System, sign in. Ding! The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting General Beast Blood X3. Fang Qingyan took out 3 drops of the beast's essence and blood, and then snapped his fingers, pulling dash. Pet Shah flew in carefully through the window. This is Murphy's castle where the Marquis sits. It does not dare to be too public. Once it is discovered that a powerful monster has broken into the castle, it will definitely be hunted. You have been at the peak realm of war beasts for a long time. If you are sure, you can find a place to try to break through. Fang Qingyan threw 3 drops of blood essence to Pet Shah and said with a smile. Chirp. Pet Shah nodded her little head. Thanks to the countless orc essence and blood given by Fang Qingyan, its advancement speed is also terrifying. After Pet Shah breaks through to the general beast level, he will be equivalent to the powerful Marquis of the vampire clan. Wait until it leaves. Fang Qingyan lay down in the coffin and closed the coffin lid, began meditation practice. The power of Qi and blood in the body is slowly beating, preparing to break through the 4-winged Marquis, Capet clan. Marquis Morpheus Castle, he will start a new journey here. P.S. please give me flowers, monthly tickets, and evaluation votes. Xiaopuji asks for support. Chapter 39. That the job of a librarian is unsurprisingly relaxing. Fang Qingyan's life is very comfortable. In addition to checking in on time every day, there is meditation and practice to hone qi and blood. Time flies, and a month has passed. During this period, Elizabeth's maid came and brought back a carriage of books that Her Royal Highness had read, and at the same time brought back a carriage. Fang Qingyan could not imagine the life of this house girl. Don't she need to practice? Elizabeth is still very young, she is only 20 years old. Considering the extremely long lifespan of the vampire family, her age is not even considered a baby, but an embryo at most. She has a lot of time to waste. It must be said that Duke Morpheus doted on this daughter very much and gave Elizabeth all the best he could think of. Judging from this alone, he is a very competent father. Marquis Morpheus gave everything that Castain did not give Elizabeth. On this day, as usual, Fang Qingyan started signing in after lying in the coffin. Ding! The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting Duke Essence and Blood X1. That a drop of blood appeared in the palm of his hand. It contains very violent, huge, and terrifying life energy, the Duke's essence and blood that would make any marquis desire and envy him. But Fang Qingyan's expression was very calm, because this is already the 5th drop of Duke essence and blood he has obtained by signing in this month. After coming to the Cape clan, he felt that the sign-in reward seemed to have improved a lot. He could get the Duke's essence and blood every 3 to 5 days. Previously, he even signed in to get the 1000 machine mask, an 8-star magic weapon. Fang Qingyan guessed that the system's check-in mechanism was like mining. If you just arrived at a new mine, what you dug out would definitely be the best stuff, but over time, the ore will be mined, so that the rewards become garbage. So the essence of this system is that when you notice that the sign-in reward suddenly becomes low, it means it is time to leave that place. He swallows the essence and blood. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And go into meditation. The essence and blood decomposed into pure life energy, raging like a wild dragon, but Fang Qingyan easily suppressed it and refined it one by one. A few hours later, after successfully absorbing all the drops of the Duke's essence and blood, his energy and blood became stronger. Fang Qingyan immediately felt the difference in his body. On his back above the shoulder blades, he finally found 2 more shackle points, or acupoints. He couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly, because he can feel the existence and blockage of the acupoints. It means that the accumulation of qi and blood in Fang Qingyan's body has been enough and has reached a saturated state. He can advance from double wings to 4 wings. A month ago he was still breaking through the shackles of the 2 wings, and now he was trying to break through the 4 wings. If other marquises knew about it, they would probably be frightened into fools, but in fact, Fang Qingyan has absorbed so much Duke essence and blood, plus the characteristics of yin and yang cultivation. This speed of advancement is not surprising. He took a deep breath and adjusted his energy, blood, and mental strength to their peak. Then the breakthrough began. It's still the same as when I advanced the wings last time, constantly switching forms, using the power of yin and the power of yang to strike crosswise, yin-yang mixed doubles. Under such an offensive from the 2 heavens of ice and fire, the shackles could not withstand it at all. A few hours later, Fang Qingyan's body shook violently, and there was a crisp click sound in his mind, as if something was broken. Rumble. The power of qi and blood is like a flood that breaks a bank, roaring out, unstoppable. It turned into 2 raging rivers, rushing straight towards the 2 ends of the back. Finally, the qi and blood completely penetrated the 2 acupoints and successfully merged together, completing a cycle. Fang Qingyan breathed heavily. The familiar itching pain hit him, causing cold sweat to break out on his forehead. This was the most critical moment for him to break out of his cocoon and become a butterfly. Finally, he roared like a wild beast and exerted force. Laugh. 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 For soft sounds came, like spring buds bursting out of the ground. There are 4 more beautiful wings on Fang Qingyan's back, 1 pair above the shoulder blades and 1 pair below. The upper pair of holy wings are newly grown. There is no doubt that he has broken through to the late marquis stage and advanced to the level of 4 wings. The 2 left wings are blood red and glowing with blood, symbolizing the power of qi and blood of the yin attribute. The right wing is brilliant red gold and covered with essence fire, which represents the power of qi and blood of the yang attribute. The vast power of qi and blood like the sea was swimming in the body. Fang Qingyan felt this destructive and terrifying power and savored the changes after advancing to the four wings. After transforming into two-winged mode, whether it is the power of blood, physical strength, or mental strength, all abilities will be 10 times stronger than normal. If transformed into four-winged mode, it will be 50 times stronger than normal. Hiss. Fang Qingyan took a breath of air. This is the real one realm, one earth, one step to reach the sky. After reaching the marquee, it is almost impossible to kill people across realms. Fang Qingyan thought to himself that if he transformed into Yang form and used the power of the sun that was designed to defeat the vampires, he should be able to defeat the six-winged marquee, but he would probably not be able to kill him. The marquee is so scary. What about the Duke? Where is the prince? He couldn't imagine how terrifying the prince known as the 12-winged blood ancestor was. The stronger you become, the more you realize your insignificance and the long and bumpy road ahead. Every mountain is higher than the next, and the road is still long. We still have to stay tight and not wander. Fang Qingyan took a deep breath. Before he makes up his mind to become truly invincible, there is no way he can jump out. Don't ask, just ask in 2 words, steady. P.S. Xiaopuji asks for support, monthly flower tickets and evaluation votes. If you still don't give it to me, I'll kneel down and beg. Chapter 40. Elizabeth has not been having a good time these days. She was in a bad mood. It's not that Her Royal Highness's romance novels were confiscated again, but because after hearing Romeo and Juliet, a great love story that ended in tragedy, Elizabeth can no longer read other romance novels. To this day, whenever she recalls this story, Elizabeth will still be shocked by Romeo and Juliet's poignant love that is careless of the world, desperate for their own lives, and like a moth to a flame. Comedies often make you laugh when you watch them, and forget them once you laugh, yet tragedy can be remembered. Alas! Elizabeth was wearing a pink pajamas, with her cute little feet crossed, and she was sitting on the velvet soft carpet without any princess image. The blanket was surrounded by books scattered on the floor. She sighed and frowned. The delicate and beautiful facial features are covered with a touch of sadness. Padachi threw the book far away. Then he picked up another romance novel, The Knight and the Princess, and started reading it. 3 minutes later, there was another pop and the book was smashed against the door by her. Ah! Are these rubbish novels? Aha! I have a huge library, but can't I find a book as nutritious as Romeo and Juliet? Cried Elizabeth frantically. While shouting, he slammed his 2 white-pink fists on the floor to vent his emotions. Your Highness, what happened? The Earl's maid who heard the noise came over quickly. Joanna, these love novels you found for me are too vulgar. Has your aesthetic level dropped? Elizabeth said angrily. The last time you pulled back the carriage, I could only read 2 or 3 books, and I barely read them. Can't you find some good books for me? The Earl's maid named Joanna heard this and her mouth twitched. Princess. It's not that my aesthetic level has dropped, it's that yours has improved. Since Her Royal Highness came back from Jason Castle, she can no longer read the novels she loved to read before. God bless you. Can you find a classic and soulful love story like Romeo and Juliet just by looking for it? A writer who has the ability to write such a tragedy is definitely a literary giant. Joanna actually cried when she heard this. Alas, Princess, just make do with it. If you don't like any of the tens of thousands of romance novels, then it's not the book's problem. Joanna's expression was serious. It's your problem. I don't care, I don't care. Elizabeth shook her head like a rattle. Princess, your research and achievements in romance novels have reached the top of the world. It's time to let go. Without books, you will fall in love with other things. Joanna advised earnestly. I don't want to listen, I don't want to listen. Elizabeth's beautiful eyes were full of grievances. How can love be let go? I would rather die without love. What I asked you to let go of is romance novels. Not love. The carrier of the former is books, and the latter is a living man. There is an essential difference between the two. You haven't even kissed a man's mouth. What love do you have? Joanna was also a little crazy. Why are you so stubborn? I've decided. Elizabeth suddenly said something inexplicably. She stood up from the ground, her hands on her hips, her big blue eyes full of the spirit of not admitting defeat. I want to go to the library myself and find the books I like to read. I don't believe that there are millions of books in the collection, and I can't even find a book comparable to Romeo and Juliet. Change my clothes, let's go to the library. Joanna had a blank expression on her face, but she sneered in her heart, and she would not cry until she saw the coffin. The sun was high in the sky during the day. It was the time for vampires to rest after get off work and go home to sleep. On the second floor of the library, the administrator's room, the windows were wide open, and the scorching sunlight poured in. Fang Qingyan's slender body stood upright, his hands drooped naturally, his eyes closed, and his whole body was bathed in the sun. He was meditating and practicing the power of the sun. His skin had turned into red gold, and strands of solar essence fire separated from the sunlight, like thousands of spirit snakes, drilling into the 48,000 pores of the body, and finally merging into the blood. Cultivation is like rowing against the current, and it cannot be abandoned in one day. Every day at noon, when the sun is at its strongest, Fang Qingyan will insist on practicing the power of yang for 3 hours, no matter how powerful the system is. It is only auxiliary. If you want to become a strong person, there is one thing that is indispensable, that is self-discipline. Especially after reaching the marquee, the progress of cultivation will be surprisingly slow, and you may not even feel that you are making progress. Many people will be extremely frustrated and lose patience, and thus stop practicing and become a salted fish. Fang Qingyan is a very self-disciplined person who can endure loneliness. Suddenly, his eyes opened and closed, and the blazing red gold flames in his eyes gradually extinguished. The mental power detected someone approaching the library. He left the Yangyan mode and returned to normal. After letting go of the perception and carefully exploring again, a beautiful and lively figure of youth appeared in his mind. Fang Qingyan was slightly stunned, and then the corners of his mouth curled up and smiled. How can this nerdy girl have time to come to the library? It's just right. Let's try to get the key. See you again, Elizabeth. P.S. Xiaopuji asks for support. Flowers, monthly tickets, evaluation tickets, please, beg. Chapter 41. Joanna, hurry up and catch up, you always dawdle. Elizabeth's slender arms lifted her skirt and rushed into the hall on the first floor of the library happily, and turned around and grumbled to the Earl's maid in dissatisfaction. Joanna sighed. I'm old, more than 1,000 years old. How can I be as energetic as your 20-year-old princess?